Let's talk about the Deus 2 for a minute. If I never would have gotten the Deus 1 and I just stepped in the Deus 2, I probably would have not liked this machine, to tell you the truth. It's a lot different than the Deus 1, a lot different, and it's much more complex of a machine. The tones are more complex in full tones, and the programs are frequency specific. So you got to understand that. And it's a normalized ID. And so when you sweep over, let's say a pull tab, and you change frequencies in mono frequency, that tone ID is going to be the same. That tone number, that number, whatever it gives you, it's going to be the same, pretty much the same. With the Deus 1, that's not so much. When you change frequencies, that the numbers go up, right? It's a non-normalized ID. And each program, the FMF programs are frequency specific, so you can't adjust your frequencies within those programs. And it does struggle on the smaller targets in full tones. It does struggle on the small targets in full tones, no matter what frequency you're in. And if you're getting EMI, I've noticed if I get EMI, I can put it into pitch tones and raise my threshold all the way up to 20. And that EMI completely goes away, almost completely goes away. And I've seen some tests on YouTube of guys who really haven't swung the Deus 2 around for much. You know, they just got it and they're testing it out and the results aren't that great. I went through that same thing, right? I went through that same learning curve of the Deus 2, and I'm still going through that steep learning curve of the Deus 2, and it is steep. It is a very complex machine. You must understand that. It is not a simple machine. And you got to put in the effort, put in the hours, put in the live digs. You know, just take it out in the field and just start digging up a bunch of trash and learn the tones. I can guarantee you right now to this point, I have dug up more targets than anybody else with this Deus 2. And I have the most live dig hours on YouTube. And I've done the most testing with this machine. When it's dark out, or if I'm not hunting, I am testing this Deus 2 against itself, against its different programs, against its different settings, and against my other detectors, a little bit against my other detectors. If you pick up a detector and you could try to compare it, if you pick up a detector for just a few minutes and try to compare it to other machines that you have hundreds or thousands of hours on, and you say it's junk, I just disregard those, right? I'm not going to say this machine is junk yet, right? And I probably won't say that this machine is junk, just from the results that I've been seeing with my bench tests and the live dig videos and just in-field testing. And it has a lot of programs, so the programs are really confusing. It has filters, high pass filters, low frequency, high frequency, and some band pass filters that are low frequency and high frequency, and you can adjust those through the settings, but most of those filters are not adjustable within those programs. That's what the different programs do, right? They're optimized for special conditions, right? Like the fast program is optimized for hunting in the iron. You know, you can discriminate the foil out or discriminate the lower conductive targets out and just hit on the higher conductors. Or you can get hit on the lower conductors too if you really want. You know, get all the foil out of the ground. But the smaller jewelry, you know, the Deus 2 struggles in tot lots in full tones. Unlike the Deus 1, the Deus 1 thrives in tot lots because it's not a super powerful machine. I don't want a 16-inch coil inside of a tot lot trying to go deep, right? I want to get the jewelry out, skip up all the little bits of foil, and I want to swing fast because I got to go fast in tot lots because a lot of times kids want to come up behind you and use the tot lot. And I don't want to be digging up a bunch of foil when I first get to tot lot, so I want to have it in full tones, but I have to really dial it back a lot. The Deus 2 I have to dial back a lot in full tones. Um, any program in full tones, so I have to dial it back a lot. So I'm missing out on a lot of those smaller pieces of jewelry. I think I'm missing out on some of those smaller pieces of jewelry. And in the high EMI spots, you know, I've struggled. You know, I can put it in mono frequency full tones if I'm in a curb strip and get a few targets out. But if I hit EMI, you know, and I want to change frequencies, you know, the lower frequencies are not really working well in my soil. You know, with pretty much all my detectors. You know, my Amphibio does not work well in 5 or 14 kilohertz with any coil. The Equinox does not work well in the lower frequencies. The Deus 1 does not work well in the lower frequencies, and the Deus 2 does not work well in the lower frequencies in my soil. So I just need to learn a lot more about it. I am a newbie at this Deus 2 thing, right? I know very little. So does everybody else, right? Everybody else out there knows about as much as I do. Not very much about this new machine. We just need to get some hours on it and really test it out. Test it and test it and test it and field test it and field test it and just dig up targets, right? Dig up the trash, learn the tones. The tones are everything with the Deus machines. The Deus 1 and Deus 2, they're tonal machines, man. You can't look at the numbers and decide to dig the target out with the Deus machine, right? Because it's going to false on iron just like the other machines. If you wiggle over target really tight, over a nail, you're going to dig up nails, right? You just need to dial it in, right? Mess with the settings, play with it a little bit, dig up a lot of nails. I've dug up a lot of nails, believe me. I've dug up a lot of nails with the Deus 2 so far. And I was digging up a lot of nails with the Deus 1. But with the Deus 1 and Deus 2, I'm digging a lot less nails. I'm fooled less with the Deus machines than any other machine that I've ever used, right? So that way I can spend the time digging out the more quality targets, like the jewelry, the rings, the coins, especially in the iron, right? In the iron, the Deus machines thrive in the iron. That's really where it sets itself apart in pitch tones, right? Full tones, it doesn't do that great in the iron. I tried it for hundreds and hundreds of hours in the iron. Deus full tones in the iron is not a great performer, right? That's where it just fails at. Deus full tones in iron, don't go there, right? I already tried it for so many hours. I wasn't wasting my time, but I was just trying to do something that was not possible, right? It can't compete with other detectors in full tones when it's an iron. The way it can compete and exceed the competition is pitch tones. And now that we have the square tones, that's even better, right? It brings those non-ferrous targets right up to the range where you're gonna dig them up, right? It's that target tone that we're looking for, right? That specific tone, like the jewelry has a certain tone to it, the foil has a certain tone to it in pitch tones, right? If you have the discrimination right and your audio response and your mode, you know, your specific mode that you're in, and it's a complex machine, right? There's no way I can tell you all about the Deus 2 even 3 years from now, right? It's a complex machine. You know, I can say for sure that it is one of the more complex machines that I've ever tested, and I'm going to continue using it until another machine comes along that's going to be easier to use and it's going to be a better performer in different areas, right? All I know is the Deus 2 performs very well in the sand. On the beach, it was quiet as a church mouse, man. When I'm over target, I know I'm over target. When I'm over hot soil with the Deus, it doesn't respond like other detectors do, right? Other detectors do. It's really quiet in my hot soil here, right? And I want to explain this a little bit more. The Deus 2 can cut through my hot soil like no other detector I've seen, right? And I can swing fast. If you look at my other videos, like with my Amphibio and my Simplex and a few videos that I've had out with the Equinox, I'm swinging the Deus 2 out a lot faster, and I'm smacking targets out really fast, right? Swinging super fast. That's a pretty big feat for any detector, to swing fast in my hot soil, and I'm getting targets out fast. The more targets that you dig out with any detector, the more you learn. The more you learn those tones. Tones are everything, man. Tones are everything in metal detectors. If you're digging up the numbers, I know it gets really boring hearing me saying this, but if you're digging out the tones, you're going to be digging up a lot more better targets, but you're going to be digging up a lot more junk, right? If you can just fine tune that metal detector to where you have it dialed in just right to that site, you'll remember what settings you use for that certain site. It may not work all the times, those settings for that certain site, because every day is different, but at least I'm able to adjust those certain settings on the Deus 2. On other detectors, they just don't have the settings that the Deus has. It doesn't have all the tonal options. It doesn't have the audio response. And what I think, the audio response, you know, a lot of other detectors have reactivity speed, right, or recovery speed. You know, it's going to be pretty much the thing on pretty much all detectors from here on out. But the audio response is a huge thing. I've really been testing that out a lot lately, and the audio response really lets me hear those deeper targets that other detectors are not able to discern the depth of the targets. I want to hit on the deeper targets, right? And the Deus 2, with that audio response, and even the Deus 1, I know that it's a deeper target. It's whispering at me, right? I can adjust the audio response to where I can reject all that surface junk, and I can just hear those faint signals in the background. Those are the deep targets that I want to dig out, right? They're all metal detectors. If something comes out multi-frequency again in the future, I probably won't be getting that right. Multi-frequency machines are very much overrated, right? I'm really liking this Deus, but the multi-frequency, it has a lot of issues, you know, because you can't really change the frequency. You know, you can't change the frequencies in the multi-frequency, and I don't really know what frequency I'm running at, right? You know, when you do an offset, you don't know what's really happening to that metal detector. You know, I've had a few iffies with the programs. You know, kind of it's hard to explain, but I will show you in some live dig videos here coming very shortly. I'm going to compare these machines against each other. Pretty amazing results, man. Pretty amazing results. It might not seem like the Deus 2 is performing a lot better, but you guys can't hear the tones. This camera right here is not picking up the whole reality of it. Even the remote speaker can't pick up, it can't do it justice. The headphones is the way, it's all tones, man. Wear your headphones. I'm not really a big fan of the headphones at this point in time. The back phones, when I have a hat on and a camera on and my glasses on and sometimes a hood over my head, I can't do those back phones for more than about an hour, or my ears start bleeding, right? The top of my ears just start hurting. So, and I can't have big headphones on because I need to hear the tones, so that I need to know that the camera is capturing the tones, right? At least capturing some of the tones. Well, thank you for watching. Please subscribe.